What's poppin', y'all? Looks like Young Thug finally decided when all hell breaks loose, just get fruity. And that's what it seems like Young Thug's been doing, because his album's supposed to release a week after Cardi B's, so it's supposed to release this Friday. And in preparation for, you already know, I told you, he had to try and get the #1 somehow. Although I don't know if he will get the #1, because he is in competition with none other than YFN Lucci. I'm joking. He's for sure getting that #1. But in the lead up to this, he's done a lot of talking, and talking that hasn't helped his case as in him being this big old bad gangster. So he decided to go back fruity. And what I mean by fruity is him going back to his roots, how he first got on and blew up, putting lipstick on. I don't know if that was photoshopped or not though, but blowing kisses at the camera, bays, lovers, also, having the dress on and things like that. And for this one, he posted a kissy face via Instagram, and he had this iced out chain on. I don't even know what that is. I know that's not a Cuban link. That's really the only link that I know of. What other links are there? Let me know in the comments. I don't know. And he had these overalls on that were some sort of designer overalls and nothing underneath, which is heavy pause on that. But a couple of fans were responding to this and saying, is this guy wearing an iced out corset? This album about to change my life. And someone else saying, HOMO Thug is back. We getting peak music. And he retweeted both of these. So he's co-signing what these people are saying. And to this I say, this is a brilliant move by Thug. Yeah, get back into your zesty bag, because that's what's going to make them forget about the crimes you've committed, and the crimes against the streets, that is. Because if you guys remember, who was the actor from, I think it was the actor from House of Cards, was it? Or it was one of these actors that people loved, and they were like, yo, this guy was kicking it with the wrong crowd, right? He was doing some illegal stuff with people below a certain age, and then he was like, nah, actually, I'm not straight. And they were like, oh, okay, say less. And then that was all she wrote. Now, of course, it's a little bit more, well, it's not as simple as that, but it's funny that he decided to pull out that card and come out when everything was piling on top of him. But in the lead up to this, Young Thug also shot out a little bit of a diss / shot at YFN Lucci. Now, for those of you that may not remember all the details, YFN was another crew record label, not a gang at all. Of course not, right? Wink, wink. And wink, wink, pull the ear. And YSL, they were at odds. Let's just say that. People died on both sides. There's a lot of issues with business. One of the reasons why Sauce Walka and Young Thug had issues was because of Sauce Walka's attachment, relationship, friendship with YFN Lucci. And YFN Lucci, he got locked up and hit with the RICO before the YSL RICO came down, and he never got as commercially popular, partially because of Young Thug having more of a tie into the industry of Atlanta. Think about like a drill artist, like for example in Chicago, FBG Duck, and a lot of people on the other side when there's BDs and GDs, BDs being Lil Durk and them. So Lil Durk got into the industry, and Chief Keef of course, but more so Lil Durk. He built his connections, so anybody that was GD, including from other cities and states, for example 22G's, he was GD and they didn't mess with him. Fabio Foreign, he was opposite GD and they blew him up. And 22G's was a lot more talented than Fabio Foreign. I would still venture off to say that on a balance of songs, I would say there are more 22G songs that I like than Fabio Foreign. But this held back YFN Lucci, and YFN Lucci actually sat down and kept it solid. We have never heard an interrogation room audio of YFN Lucci, although maybe people just don't care enough to leak it, but we haven't seen anything. I would have leaked if that was going on. We haven't seen anything like that. Young Thug says that he was airing it out at YFN Lucci, or having people air it out at YFN Lucci's mother's crib. And then when he was threatening him on social media, Big Bank, the guy that Young Thug did an interview with, was telling him like, man, you were taunting Lucci on social media, like, stop playing. And he's like, nah, man, I told that man, let's collab, let's do a song together, which was straight cap. He's like, yeah, I even DM'd him. I said, yo, let's stop this, let's just do music. And it looks like we may be getting music, because Thug said in the text of the IG post, Thug said, FYFN Lucci album, his album coming Friday. And Thug is referencing his album. I pronounced this thing right 50%. I've got a 50% hit rate on UI Scuddy. I've got a 50% hit rate. Sometimes I pronounce it right, sometimes I pronounce it wrong. I even looked up how to pronounce it, and then I forgot, because this was maybe 6 weeks ago that I did this. So people felt like, okay, is he dissing Lucci because he's dropping the same day? And then YFN Lucci also responds, and he posts the zesty corset of Thug. It's really just overalls. And he says, album ain't none for $1 million. Ugly yeah man. Thugger 1. Already legend. Friday. F buddy. Hold on. This, I'm gonna, is it okay if I open up a little bit? I've been really sad, disturbed, hurt by this situation with everything going on with Young Thug because of one person, and that is Rich Homie Quan. Now, I'm being a little bit hyperbolic about my emotions regarding this. My emotions are not that intense. But Rich Homie Quan, who is utterly talented, just an amazing talent, just as good as Young Thug. Some would say he's better, some would say he's not. But the music that Rich Homie Quan came with, Rich as in Spirit and Post, Rich as in Spirit alone as an album was great. But he just ended up falling on the other side because of his loyalty and of business with Donovan Nutt, who Young Thug's people had allegedly killed. And he isn't here to benefit from this. So I just feel like especially when the narrative was against Young Thug, if Rich Homie Quan was still here and still alive and didn't die in such an unfortunate circumstances, and who knows how much of the way that his career went, partially due to Young Thug making sure that he was blackballed, and people, not making sure, but people around Atlanta saying like, yo, I don't know if we should work with this guy because Young Thug doesn't mess with him anymore. Who knows if he would have been alive or not. I'm not putting a body on Young Thug. No way. We put the Juice WRLD body on Future though, because he was telling Juice WRLD did start doing that because Future made it sound amazing. And I mean, you listen to Codeine Crazy, it sounds like a dream. I don't blame somebody for getting into it because of that song at least. So he could at least benefit from it. Or if it came to this, I feel like this would have been Young Thug and Rich Homie Quan reuniting instead of Young Thug and YFN Lucci working together, which we don't really care about YFN Lucci, do we? How many YFN Lucci fans do we got here? I think he's a decent rapper, but yeah. And why I think this isn't actual beef is because, number one, calling him, and that's the F buddy thing, that's even crazier than Bay Lover that Young Thug and Rich Homie Quan were getting up to in 2014. And is he cheating on Rich Homie Quan? Or like, is he allowed to move on to a new hubby? I don't know. You tell me. But he would have called him a teller, a informant, a cooperator, one of those many words if he actually had issues with them. And Lil Baby, who was the first person that did a show in Atlanta, brought out YFN Lucci on stage to perform. When he did a big show, it was in an arena. And people felt like Young Thug co-signed this, and it would make sense because Young Thug was talking about, yo, whatever Wham says goes. Lil Baby distanced himself from Gunna because of Young Thug. We saw the influence that Thug had on Lil Baby in the leaked jail calls when he messed up his whole relationship with QCP, who is the guy that signed Lil Baby and the owner of his record label. And now Young Thug is complaining about Lil Baby not working with him or not picking up the phone after Lil Baby heard all of these leaked calls about him. He didn't say anything bad about Lil Baby, but I think it opened a side of Young Thug that Lil Baby had not yet seen. And there's static between them now. Does this mean that his relationship with Lil Baby is repaired because Lil Baby's cool with YFN Lucci? I don't know. Or it could be an attempt to show Lil Baby like, hey man, like I'm changing. I'm doing work with this guy that was my top op that you were trying to maybe like cool off this beef between us. And I'm changing. I want my guys back. One of those guys being Lil Baby. That could be the case too. So I do think there is a song, I don't know on whose album between these guys, but I think that's good for Atlanta. I will say that. I've had a lot of criticisms of Thug for the past month or so, and really since his release, without all of these leaked calls. But this is a move that I can get behind. Lucci deserves to be highlighted in this way. Lucci kept it solid, and we don't got any footage of him. I don't even think anybody from Lucci's team told. So YFN ended up being the quote-unquote real ones that Thug claims to have so much respect for, because this guy still only cares about what's going on in the streets. But let me know what y'all think about this in the comments. Like, subscribe, and hit the notification bell if you enjoyed. And I'm going to see y'all on the next one.